Yiddy die 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 yiddy die 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 yiddy die 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 die. Shabbat Shalom. I've been spending a lot of time in this sanctuary recently with high holiday preparations and being in here today to record this take-home Torah for all of you. And I have to say that sometimes, or I would think, that it would feel very lonely in here. And in some ways it does, but I do feel like bringing these pieces of Torah and pieces of the high holidays, that through some of this process, I've really felt your presence. And so I hope that you can sort of appreciate being in the sanctuary in this way, being able to see it and being able to, remember what it was like to be together, because it certainly has helped me to be in this space so often recently. Somehow, we have survived over 6 months of this global pandemic. And somehow, when we first went into shelter in place, we planned for a few weeks, maybe through the summer, but could any of us have imagined that we would be starting a new school year online? That certain bars and restaurants would still be closed, and for some of us, our hair is the longest it's ever been. That we would be leading into the high holidays, planning to be apart. I certainly could never have imagined it. And yet, here we are, 1 week away from Rosh Hashanah. We made it, each of us. Some of us have experienced tremendous loss, loved ones, life cycle events. Many of us have experienced incredible blessings, new additions to the family, quality time at home, unlike any other time in your life before. And some of us have a mix of struggles and silver linings that we find every day, to a point that maybe it feels dizzying and hard to stay grounded, and all of us have in some way shifted our routines, to reimagine our daily lives, and of course to reimagine what Judaism and being connected to this Jewish community means now and going forward. In this week's Torah portion, Moses gives his second to last address to the people. It is in this address that he begins to fade himself out as a leader, to reassure them that they will be okay, even though Moses will not go with them. And I believe that it is in this parsha that we are given one of the greatest lessons in our Torah. Not laws about property and how to treat relationships, not even how to treat the stranger or the poor, not about kashrut or Shabbat or repairing the world. But this week we are given something greater, something that had we not been captivated by this Jewish story up until this point, we may not have even realized its power. In some ways, it's the commentary on the commandments. Now that we have the laws, how do we use them? And how do we take Judaism into our own hands? Moses tells the Israelites, "This commandment that I have commanded you today should not be too baffling for you, nor is it beyond your reach. Lo bashamayim hi, it is not in the heavens that you might say, who will go up to heaven and take it for us and teach it to us so that we can do it? Neither is it beyond the ocean, so that you might say, who will cross to the other side of the ocean and take it for us, to teach it to us so that we can do it? No, this commandment, it is very close to you, in your mouth and in your heart to observe it." In this moment, Moses is there to remind the people, and now us, that the Torah isn't at the top of the mountain anymore, nor in the heavens or across the ocean. It will not be handed to you anymore, he tells them. Going forward, the Torah is your responsibility to take into your own hands. It reminds me of dropping off a child in their first semester of college, which I have to say, I have never been on the parental side of this, but you raise your children in the best way that you can. You give them clothes and food. You model healthy choices, safe choices. Maybe you even teach them to do their laundry, how to use a debit machine. And then you drop them off. You wish them well. Maybe you make their bed for one last time. You make sure they have everything that you think they will need. You tell them you love them. And this is among the first steps to their lives being in their own hands. There will undoubtedly be successes and failures. Some panicked phone calls home, and sometimes the colors and the whites might get washed in the same load because who wants to pay the extra $1.25 to wash them separately? But this is the Moses moment. At the entry of the promised land, giving up control as a leader and reminding them of their future and all that God has promised. Lo bashamayim hi. It is not in the heavens. Commentator Sforno explains this briefly and precisely. He says, you don't need a prophet to do tshuva for you. Not only Torah, like these verses you might think, but more specifically, the act of tshuva is what Sforno is saying. It is no coincidence that he reminds us of this in this parsha, which falls right in the season of tshuva. We are right in the middle of doing this work, looking inwards and noticing where we may have missed the mark. And we know that no one can do this work but you. What I love about this is how much we can learn from this passage, and especially this year. In March, our synagogue closed, and except for a few brief interactions, we have not seen one another since that time. It's really hard to believe. Before that time, each of us had a certain idea of how Shabbat looked, how holidays would be observed. Certain parts of those plans were at Beth Sholom, and certain parts of those holidays and Shabbat were done at home. And just like the first set of tablets that Moses brought down to the people, what we were used to has been shattered. Interestingly, there are commentators who say those tablets were meant to be shattered, and that the Israelite people weren't ready to receive that first set of tablets in the first place. And had we received them, we may have abused them, treated them like a golden calf. The original tablets would have been made into an idol, out of reach and unable to be used. Maybe we were too comfortable, too used to the way things were. Moses began his speech by saying, I make this covenant, not with you alone, but with those who are standing here with us this day before God, and with those who are not with us on this day. As we set our intentions towards the new year, as we review and reflect and make amends, remember the lesson from this Torah portion, the week right before Rosh Hashanah. Not only is our tradition fully accessible to each of you, but it is actually your responsibility to take hold of it, to love it, to observe it, and to teach it to the many generations that will follow you. This is a tragic time for our world. The tablets as we know them have been shattered, they've been broken. But Judaism, Torah, prayer, and connecting with the Jewish community, none of those things are out of our reach. And if you can trust that, then we will continue to lift each other up, to learn from one another and ourselves, and to take hold of this tradition, of our own tradition, as we head into the high holidays and into the new year. Shabbat Shalom. Ay 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 Just one note, I hope that you will join me, Rabbi Ain, Rabbi Dorothy Richmond, and Jeremiah Lockwood this Saturday night, September 12th at 8:30 p.m. for a really special slichot program, of course done virtually. You can find out all of that information on our website, and I look forward to seeing you over the high holiday season, be it virtually, so that we can all celebrate this new year together, even though we are apart. Shabbat Shalom.